Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. For today, we have on the show, what can I say? We have here the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the incredible, the epic, Carolina. Carolina, how are you today?
How are you, Dan? Thank you so much for that introduction. That's so sweet of you.
Absolutely. I mean, what better way to have an incredible, fantastic, badass day to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
Thank you. We are all badasses in some ways, right? We're all
Absolutely.
so we all have superpowers in different areas in our lives. So yes,
hmm
I accept
hmm
that. I welcome that.
There you go. Couldn't agree more. Now, before we start, I do want to thank those who are, recently tuning in either on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or here or on YouTube as well. Thank you so much. Now, on the description below, you're gonna find all of Carolina's social media. Let's follow her. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Carolina, and let's find out why she's a super badass. Now, without further more, let's dig in. So, my first question would be, what drew you into acting in the first place? Was there a specific moment or experience in life to be like, you know what, this is gonna be my passion now?
Well, I actually have been a performer my whole life. At the age of 9, I actually walked myself into an audition at the Conservatory of Music in the hometown where I grew up in Alajuela in Costa Rica.
Okay.
I was drawn by the music and the singing, and it was just a calling for me. So I walked in and I asked the director if I could audition for the choir, and it was an international choir. It was a big choir, won awards and toured around, and I was accepted. I passed the audition. It was an amazing experience. So it's always been a calling for me to perform. Later on in life, I became a dancer, and it was actually a dream of mine always to act. But as you know, in Latin America, for some of us, that can only be a dream sometimes, right? So,
hmm
of course, it was always there in the back of my mind as a dream. And I would love to do that one day. Oh, someday I would love to do that. That would be amazing. What a great job. What a great thing to do. But it was not very realistic, right? So I became a performer in the ways that I could. And when I was part-time living in Canada and part-time living in Costa Rica, because my husband is Canadian.
Okay.
Uh, yes, my husband is Canadian. I didn't want to move permanently to Canada. I wanted to live in Costa Rica. So I was moving back and forth, spending half the year in Costa Rica, half the year in Canada. But in 2019, because my husband is also an artist, he's also a performer, he's a musician, we decided we will take acting lessons back in 2019. And that was quite an experience. We loved it. Both of us are artists, both of us are performers, and both of us like to challenge ourselves constantly and growing as artists. So then comes 2020 and the pandemic, and it forces me to stay in Canada because that was the only way to stay close to my husband. There were no flights back to Costa Rica. So I had to get a work permit and start working in Canada. And I thought to myself, while I did for a living in Costa Rica was real estate, I thought to myself, if I live in Canada, since there is opportunity here for actors, I'm going to try acting. I'm gonna have to do something related to the arts for a living because that's my calling. And so I got my work permit. That took a while. It's not easy. And as soon as I got it, I started auditioning back in 2021. It took me a while to get the work permit. And it's been an incredible journey ever since. Way better than I expected. Way better than I imagined. So fulfilling, so rewarding. So yeah, that was the calling was always there, but that was kind of the journey that drove me into acting.
hmm hmm And what were some of the challenges, that you had when you were, like between living in two different countries here and there, and then, starting with the whole acting? Like, what were some of the challenges that you first encountered when you were, as time went by, you were moving forward here and there?
Oh, I mean, everything is a challenge, and that's part of why I love it. Also, for somebody whose native language is not English,
hmm
you have to learn the terminology for everything. I remember the first time I stepped on set, I didn't know anything, Dan. I got this job. It was a non-union work. with the family of Farpoint, which is an amazing production company here in Winnipeg that I love. I love everybody there. And my first experience on set was with them. And I didn't know anything. I had gone to acting lessons, but really I didn't learn anything about actually being there on set. So I remember everybody saying, oh, well, we're going to go blocking now. What's blocking? So starting from there, I had to learn what everything was called. But it's been a beautiful growing journey too. The language thing has been a challenge for me, because I thought when I started, and I still do, that having an accent is an asset and it's a superpower, because we're trying to do something different when we audition, and I naturally have that already. But to be able to access a wide array of characters, I have to work my accent to make it as clear as possible for the American audience, for TV productions, and that has been a challenge for me. That has helped me to grow too, into a more equipped artist.
There you go.
Yes.
I love it. That is amazing. Now, focusing a little bit onto the whole, character part here. Tell me, how do you approach getting into the mindset of a character? Do you have I don't know, like a specific technique, or like what is your thing so you can start on this, on this journey, let's say?
I think every character requires a different approach. I do. And I, of course, depending on the character, I lean towards one method or the other. But I really have to feel it, what works for me, as for every human being, because we're all so different. We are a different universe, all of us. Then each character is as well. So it requires a different approach. Sometimes you can feed off other actors, and that works perfectly. Sometimes you just have to, go deep into your own emotions, your own experiences, to be able to cry for a scene, for example. I had to be able to cry for a scene, I had to go inwards, search for my own experiences, for my own sad moments back in the past, and also for gratitude, because you can cry tears of gratitude as well. So it really depends. Substitution works sometimes for some characters. Sometimes it just doesn't at all. Prototype, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to channel this character that I saw in a movie, and it works perfectly for an audition or for a role, and sometimes it just doesn't. So I have my own method. I have the Carolina method, and that works. Yeah, and that works so far for me. As I don't know, as I evolve as an actor and later on in life, which path is going to be more comfortable for me. But so far, I find that having all these tools available, it's probably the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great the fact that you can get the chance to create like your own style. And I think that is also, like for new actors, they can get the chance to be like, okay, so there is no a specific manual on how to create. I mean, yes, you can take parts from people here and there, but at the end, like the goal here is to create your own style. So that's pretty, I think that is one of the good things about it, that you have to make it on your own, basically. So.
Absolutely. Yes, make it your own. Because we are all different.
Totally.
We're such a universe inside of us, and we all have different gifts. So yeah, adhering to one specific method or technique, actually in life as well, has never been my style.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that is cool. Now, is there a particular genre or type of character that you haven't portrayed yet, but you would love to explore that in the near future?
I would really like to, and actually I was watching the movie Blow last night with Johnny Depp. Penelope Cruz, she does such an amazing job at being absolutely psychotic, off the charts. That's something that will feel so liberating for me. Just be absolutely maniac crazy, and the way she releases all this energy, it's just she is a role model for me. I admire her career a lot and her style. So that's something I would love to play. I find that I'm feeling very comfortable auditioning for roles, the female power figure. That's very enticing to me,
Mm.
and that feels very comfortable and fun.
Yep.
Of course, playing a villain, um, or a person of power is a lot more fun, probably. I would love to perform in Spanish, which I haven't had the opportunity yet. But I did recently audition for a role for a movie that part of it is Spanish, part of it is English. So
Okay.
that's something that I would love to do, just because, of course, we love speaking our own language, and we feel so much more comfortable, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so that's something that I would love to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Speaking. Yeah. Speaking in your own language is really cool. Saying bad words in your own language is pretty cool too. So
Yes, it feels
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yes.
know, I've been hoping, and I really hope that at some point they really start to do that. But you know, it's interesting. The other day I was speaking with a friend of mine, and I was doing like a little bit of research, and it's interesting how in most of all films, when they switch to Mexico, it's always yellow.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and the other day I was yeah, with this friend of mine. I was like why is this happening? You know, like why every time there's a scene in Mexico, it's always yellow. I mean, do they think that we see everything yellow, you know, or like what is going on here that it's always yellow, right? And I
I
really
think
hope
yeah.
no,
Sorry,
that
sorry.
no, no, no. Yeah, it's interesting, right? And also, I'm hoping that they can get the chance to, whenever, for example, if it is a film based in, I don't know, in Mexico, Costa Rica, Argentina, you know, countries like that, if they can get the opportunity to put locals to it, you know, it also shows it is also, I would think, like an opportunity for talent, for local talent, to show themselves and be like, hey, there's also, you know, we can do things here too. And I think that is something that we should that we should take advantage right now, to be experimenting with new stuff and giving opportunities to new people, you know? So yeah.
Absolutely, Dan. Well, first with the color, I want to address that. And I think they want to convey the idea that it's warmer. And that's probably
Perhaps
why it's a little bit more yellow. And it's just a psychological thing. Okay, it's warmer down here. So yellow. That's
yellow.
perfect.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
yeah, yeah. Now, as far as local talent, you are so right. And last night watching the movie Blow, I Googled the actors that are portraying Hispanic characters, and this movie takes place in Colombia.
Okay.
And I think of the ones I Googled, at least, none of them are from Colombia. And as you and I know, there are so many amazing Colombian actors that
Mm-hmm.
are off the charts talented actors. Um, what a waste of an opportunity for them too. Now, this movie was filmed in 2001, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they had, of course, Penelope Cruz and um, a couple of Spanish actors, a couple more Spanish actors, an actress from Argentina, some from Mexico. But you are right. There are so many actors in Latin America that are dying for an opportunity and that will do an amazing job. And also for the audience, it's respectful for us as Latinos because we can recognize
Oh
an
yeah.
actor. We know when an accent is not from Argentina or not from Colombia. No, you grew up in North America and you were speaking Spanish with a North American accent. But for North Americans, they can't tell, right? We can. So I think out of respect for the audience too, and also to benefit the authenticity and the honesty of the film, maybe go out of your way to hire local talent, because the outcome will probably be a lot more authentic and real for the film and for the
Yep.
audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the expressions, everything. I mean, it changes when you actually use someone
Oh,
who is native with our, you know, with that language. I mean, yeah, yeah. I really hope that at some point we get the chance, like, to see that. I mean, I can understand that sometimes they will hire only A-list actors so the film can sell, sure. But at the same time, you can give opportunities to some of the of the some of the cast to be locals, you know, because as you say, like the expressions, and we can totally tell whenever there is, I don't know, there is this character who is from Mexico, and whenever they start to speak Spanish, everyone is like, no, that's not like how we speak, you know.
Yeah,
So
this falls, right? The
mhm.
magic just
and
falls,
and
you
even
know.
though that perhaps it could be a really great film, when those type of things happen, at least to me, it disconnects me a little bit from the whole plot. You know, I tend to be
But you
like,
can't help it.
you know,
Yeah,
it's yeah, you can help it. So yeah.
yeah. And there are, I mean, your Hispanic audience is huge. So appeal to them. We will watch your films. We love your films. So, give authenticity to us. It will be worth it uh, in both ends, right? Because then artists in Latin America will experience what it is to work for a big film or a foreign film, and then production will be able to deliver authenticity.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. I love it. Now, have you ever had a role that made a significant impact on you? And if it did, how did I mean, and if it did that affected you somehow, or how was it for you?
Absolutely. Well, I think all of them have affected me personally, but my very first role, actually, Dan, was for an MGM film called Dark Harvest.
Okay.
And I was chosen by director David Slade, who I admire very much, for a very dramatic scene. And I honestly, Dan, had just started auditioning for that. For that audition, I saw a tutorial on YouTube on how to audition via Zoom because
Hmm.
I've never done it, and I booked it. So that's not the only reason that affected me personally, but also I was requested to cry for this scene. And as a new actor, as you can imagine, of course, I got emotional during the audition. But when we got to set and during rehearsal, David Slade, he doesn't really like a performance during rehearsal because, and I agree with this, it's kind of like a waste of energy, maybe,
Mm.
especially if you have to cry. You have to keep the performance fresh and try to save it for the actual moment of action, right? And
Mhm.
so during rehearsal, I wasn't requested to cry. But when we were going to go shoot, I had the feeling that he was going to want more from me, more than just me getting emotional. So he was waiting for me there at the bottom of the steps of this house where we shot the scene. And he said, during rehearsal, I didn't want you to cry because it's rehearsal, but I want you to cry. Like I want you to cry from take one. And I'm a new actor, right? And crying, it's a very demanding biological thing that you can't fake,
Mhm.
right? You just have to feel it and you have to dig in and make it happen. And so I said, of course, poker face. I honestly, Dan, I didn't know if I was going to be capable to deliver what he
Yeah.
wanted. But in my head, I'm like, this is an opportunity I cannot waste. He has put so much trust in me as a new actor, as a nobody. I was not even part of the union yet. And one of the first things he told me when he met me was, when I saw your audition, I knew you had to be the one. That's very encouraging. He didn't have to say that, but I do appreciate it very much. So that kind of trust given to me was something that I treasured. So I went up those steps and I listened to a couple of songs that are very moving to me. And I said, there's no other way. I have to make this happen. And I started crying, these huge tears. Of course, I did a little meditation. I connected with my past, and with also when I saw that it was happening, I was so grateful then that I swear to you that most of those tears were tears of gratitude, because I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is happening. This is happening. This is so amazing. And it was an emotional scene. And my scene partner, Alejandro Acara, who's also a Mexican like yourself, he was crying with me. It was a beautiful scene. And I was portraying a Mexican mother who was
Mm.
living in poverty, who had to move for whatever reason, running away from poverty from Mexico. And I was sending my son to chase this monster to kill him because we needed the prize money. It's an incredible movie that is out on Prime now, on Amazon Prime, Dark Harvest. And I had to send him knowing that he could die because we were in such a desperate situation. So that helped me to connect with my own difficulties as an immigrant and learning the way here in Canada, maybe not so much economical issues, but also adapting and you know, not knowing what the path is, as we know in our countries, and we have our culture there, and here we have to adapt to new cultures and hope that they will understand if we ever say something that is you know, a little bit out of place. It's just due to our culture. If we have, you know, we have to hope that these people that we live with will understand the purpose behind what we do and the reason for the things that we do. And the whole immigrant thing was a part of that scene. And I think that character moved me in very special ways for very special reasons, and for the opportunity that I was given to, as a new actor, to be with this kind of production. Because I remember standing there on the door. It took place at the entrance of this little house, and looking both ways of the street where we were filming, and there was crew as far as I could see. And for a Costa Rican girl, you know, that's kind of a dream when you are part of an MGM film of that kind, and you're being directed by David Slade, who's such a creative genius in my view, and he's being so kind to me, and all this crew around you. It's just yeah, it's very beautiful. I was very grateful, and that specific role will be close to my heart forever.
There you go. That is amazing. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And tell me, how you handle the pressure and expectations that come when you're about to play a character?
Okay, I think the first thing and the most important thing is preparation. If you are prepared, you really have nothing to fear, as long as you're adaptable. That's the other thing, right? So prepare as much as you can, but also be ready for everything to change and for new direction to be given to you, and for it to be the complete opposite to what you prepared to be. So prepare, yes, but also be flexible. And this is something that also brings me back to this character for Dark Harvest, because David Slade, all of a sudden, he gave me a direction, and he wanted me to push my son down the steps. There were just a few steps, maybe 3 or 4, and he was supposed to fall down at the bottom of the steps. And this is something that was not scripted. It was just something that David wanted me to do right there and then. And I had prepared my scene as a new actress, as a pleading mother, and then all of a sudden he wanted me to switch to be like a very demanding, almost like soulless mother who's throwing her child down the steps. And well, first of all, and this is nobody's fault, I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't know how capable Alejandro, my son in the movie, was to do his own stunts, and pushing him down the steps was terrifying to me. You know, hurting him or him hurting himself. It turns out later on, I read that he's actually an expert in martial arts, so he does his own stunts. I didn't know this, and I didn't ask. That's why it's important to be prepared. So I wasn't able to deliver what David wanted. So that brings me to the lesson of being prepared to be flexible, not just, you know, stay on one. Now, there are a couple of things here to be mentioned. David Slade had the grace to see that I had prepared my character as a pleading mother, and to be able to connect to the crying and the tears and what he expected me to do biologically, crying there in the scene. I found it very hard to switch. And he had the grace to tell me, you know, Carolina, we're going to respect your relationship between your son and the love that you have for him and the pleading mother that you have prepared. We're not going to affect that relationship. We're going to have dad, the actor that was playing Alejandro's father, come and be the authoritative one and throw him down the steps. And I was so grateful then, because that showed how humane and how nice David Slade was, because he was kind the whole time. He was flexible himself. We must remember that directors are and can be directors, even though they are very experienced, can be as terrified as we are. They have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. They have put their trust in these people. So I am very grateful for his kindness and his flexibility as well. And another thing that came out of that is that, hadn't been for that, my actor friend who was portraying Alejandro's father would have never been on screen. He was off screen the whole time. But because he was now the one that was supposed to throw Alejandro down the steps, now he was on screen, and he was. So that's something good that came out of that. So be prepared, be flexible, be kind with yourself. Because if you are not able to do what the director or what you're told, they're human too. Know that as long as you recognize your own humanity, everything's going to be okay, right? Do the best you can. And another thing, how do you handle pressure? Be kind to others. What I said about directors, that they can be as scared or more than you are, because they have these huge responsibilities. So know that, and know that every person, every crew member is usually doing their best to make everything happen under sometimes very exhausting circumstances. So be kind. And when there's time where you have to be shown patience and kindness, you will be shown patience and kindness too.
All right. Now, let's say that one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become an actor. Now, here's the catch. I have zero experience. So based on what you know, what do you think it would be a good place for me to start?
If you called me and you said that you wanted to be an actor, okay. I would say start taking lessons, acting lessons. It depends on where you would want to work, right? So what I did and worked for me, especially as an immigrant, is I started taking lessons, month-to-month lessons, and start learning from as many people as you can, because everybody will have pieces of gold for you to learn. In acting, it's really strange, because the information is kind of hidden. You have to kind of find it along the way. And then a year or two after you started, you're like, oh man, how come I didn't know? I wish I knew that. Why didn't anybody tell me? It's almost like you have to find it, unless you have like a close friend that is an actor that can guide you through the whole process. It's like a searching game that you go through, and it can be exciting. It can be frustrating too. So I would advise you to get acting lessons. Yes, because another good reason is that you start to meet people in the industry, and you build a community, and you get inspired by others too. And even as a student, you can start producing your own work. Be patient. The first time you see yourself on the screen is most of the time shocking, right? Because it's just weird to see yourself speaking and talking and acting, and it's just not the way. It's rarely the way you think you look and sound like. So that's a little bit shocking. And through acting lessons, hopefully on a class where you can record a scene and see yourself and be motivated by others, that's the first thing that I would tell you to do. Also very important, read a book, read a good book about acting. The first book I read that was very informative is The Actor's Life by Jenna Fisher. Oh man, it's such a jewel of a book. It has so much it's a guide. Actually, it's actually called the Survival Guide. So it has so much advice for new actors and things that we don't know that happen in the audition room, and that we had no idea about the journey, about how hard it can be to land a role or, to get established, but also the payoff of that. And we're not alone. So you learn through a book so many things that you might not learn by the people around you. So read, educate yourself. That's in every aspect of life. Anything you want to do, read. And, communication is so globalized now, so available that, even YouTube tutorials, you can find. The University of YouTube is such a gem for all of us, right? We can all learn just about anything online, right? So yeah, get educated. There are so many tools now.
There you go. I love it. Now, Jenna Fisher, she was in The Office, right?
Yes, she was
Uh-huh.
Pam in The Office.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew that name. Okay. That's
Yeah.
pretty
So
cool.
I recommend that book. It's a really good book. I learned a lot from it, and it was very encouraging. At first, actually, the beginning of the book is a little bit discouraging because she's like, "Listen, this is not easy. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be. This is not for the weak of heart. If you're not ready to be rejected and to suffer, then just choose another career, right?" And I was like, oh man, this is very negative. I don't know if I like this. But then she goes on to explain, the joys of it, and how worth it is. And if you're here, it's for a reason, and listen to your gut, to what is, why
Mm.
are you here? And I also think, Dan, that acting is it's been such a healing self-discovery journey for me, that, and I also think that in a way, all human beings, all of us, are playing a role of some sort, even though we're not in front of a screen. When we're out walking, in the street, we're playing a role. When we are at home, society imposes these roles on us, that in a way, since we're all actors anyways, we should explore acting. Even if we don't want to become actors, take an acting lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It will be amazing what you can discover there about yourself, and the ways in which you can even heal your soul, through an acting lesson, through performing, through becoming someone else.
There you go. All right. And what has been the most important lesson you have learned throughout your acting career so far?
Well, exactly that. How much of a healing journey. That was very surprising, actually, because of course I didn't go into acting school or acting lessons and into acting to heal myself or to discover things about myself. But in the process, I have been shocked at the self-discovery journey and the healing journey that I am living through acting, because I have to access my deepest emotions. I have to understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, why I react the way I react,
Mm-hmm.
to also listen to listen in a more effective way, to feel the person that I'm talking to and try to get the feeling of what they're saying. And so it's equipped me as a human, in ways that are very surprising to me, that dancing didn't do. Dancing made me a very courageous person. By the way, that was probably the most valuable lesson of dancing. Was I became a very courageous human being, because dancing in front of a crowd live or in front of a judges is very nerve-wracking. Acting has helped me to heal and to understand and know myself better. So that is a very valuable lesson for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, what do you think it's one of the like one of the biggest misconception that people have about actors?
Oh, definitely that that acting is just fun times all the time. And it's easy. That is easy. That is such a misconception. And I'm telling you, because I had no idea of how hard it is
Mm-hmm.
until I tried it. People will never know until you try it. You look at it in the screen, oh yeah, sure. They have no idea of how difficult it is to convey real emotions and transmit that to people, to move people in an effective way, the way you want them to go. It's so difficult. It's so hard. And also, people have no idea of the time that is put behind before landing a role, or they have no idea of the amount of work that actors do, the amount of rejection we face, the amount of frustration. There are more joys. That's my personal view. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it.
Totally.
But it, no pain, no gain, right? So the biggest misconception is that it's easy, and that it's just not enough. It's that we're not really working. It's not a real job, right? That is not a real job. That is it's some glamorous life that some people have been lucky to be chosen for. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, that's true. So, and yeah, sometimes people, I mean, sometimes, right, but I think that it's like it's the fault. Yeah, it's like what I'm trying to say here is it's all the media's fault, because they usually show, like the glamour, the red carpets, the award shows, things like that. So we tend to think that that's their lifestyle. But once you discover that there is this huge, there's this huge amount of work that sometimes we don't even know, and yeah, so I would say that perhaps that is the media's fault for trying to portray this image, which yes, sometimes, yeah, it's true. Sometimes that happens, when you go to premieres, awards, red carpets, and all of that. But that is like I don't know, like a very tiny percent of the work that you need to put behind of that sometimes, well, that definitely we the audience don't know about. We just see the final product and that's it, but we don't know anything about it. That like what took them to be where they are right now. And when you try to discover, or when you do a little bit of research going on, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. So yeah.
Also, people have no idea of how emotionally taxing acting or portraying or a specific role can be. It can really mess with your mind. It's so exhausting to convey real emotions, real deep feelings of frustration, sadness, anger.
Mm-hmm.
It really takes a toll on actors, on human beings in general, and to put yourself in other people's shoes. It can maybe damage you permanently. I used to, think, oh, that's so, like when Heath Ledger died after or during the filming of The Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, oh, it's too bad he got into drugs, and he was so young and so talented. But now as an actor, I understand that you go into a self-discovery journey and to not almost, but you are really changing the reality inside of you. And when you get deep into the character, you feel those emotions. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain really doesn't know the difference. Your body doesn't know the difference. That's not really happening. That you're not about to get murdered. It's not really happening because you're really feeling it. It's a real feeling, and so the chemicals released in the brain are real. The cortisol is real, and is toxic for your body. So there is a physical toll that actors have to deal with, and that's why I think meditation is such a great tool, especially when you are either auditioning for a very moving scene, a very stressful thing, or you get a role like I will hopefully get in the future, where you have to portray a character that is constantly suffering. Meditation, I think, is a must for actors. Totally. Where you have to go back and clear your mind and invite gratitude and feel gratitude and let your body know this is not really happening. And that's what I would do, at least, just to cleanse my body of all the negative emotions, because that will bring a toll. It will affect your health. And now for method actors that just become for whatever period of time because they have to or because they choose to, people need to value the fact that they are physically affecting themselves with this toxicity, right? And people don't know these things. They just think, oh, it's fake. It's not. It's real. It's really happening in their brains and in their body.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is amazing. Now, let's say, if your life were a sitcom, what would be the title of it? But also, who would play the fictional version of yourself?
Okay. I think I will ideally have it be a very exotic, weird, full
Hmm.
of ingredients pizza. Why? Because you can throw anything on pizza. And I really want my career to be as full of different characters and different experiences as possible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But on this case, if let's say that we're gonna make your whole yeah, your whole life into a TV show,
Oh,
who would you like to play you, basically?
oh man. I love Penelope Cruz.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think so. I love her raw performances and how free she is and in her portrayal of different characters. And also she can be very wild, incredibly
Mm.
wild, and incredibly sweet and fragile and vulnerable and true. So, and of course I love the fact that she speaks Spanish, so that adds magic to it all, because it's just different, and it's close to me, to my heart. So yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
I'll take it. Sounds like a plan. And you know, my last question, really cool, relaxing questions we can all enjoy after, a couple of interesting questions. The last one here is, what do you think that could be the perfect title for this episode we just did?
Okay, so my experience with acting, the first time I stepped in front of a film of a camera, and I was surrounded by the crew and looking at all these teamwork, because I've always been drawn by
Hmm. Hmm.
teamwork. That's why I sang with choirs. That's why I've danced and competed in dance competitions with a team, is because teamwork is very appealing to me. And teamwork with film is so magical because you get to see the skeleton, the raw of the work, and then you go the other side and you see the magic of addition and sound and all these. So the first time I experienced this on a film set, I felt I'm home. I'm
Mm.
home. This is where I feel the most comfortable and my soul feels the most comfortable because I'm an artist. And so I would name this episode Find a Home for Your Soul,
Okay. Find the
or
home for your soul, okay? Or
Home for Your Soul, to make it shorter.
yeah, both sound
Because
good.
we all have a calling, and
Totally.
hopefully all of us can find and are courageous enough to find what it is that we love doing and where
Mm.
our soul feels that it's at home. And that's not easy for everybody. I'm so aware of how privileged I am to have the opportunity to do this, and that I am a woman that was not born in a place where women cannot even go to school or
Hmm.
even show their face. So as long as you have the opportunity to create your own destiny and find what it is that you like doing, by all means, I that's my wish for everybody, that we all strive to find the home for our soul, which should be what we do. It shouldn't, of course it's work, it's not always enjoyable, but
Yeah,
it's so much more worth it. The good in it, the reward in it is so much more worth it than the pain, right?
absolutely. I mean, it's part of the process, it is what it is, of course that not I mean, not because you want something that doesn't mean that it's going to be all easy. You need to work hard. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moments in which you're going to be thinking about quitting and questioning yourself if it's the right decision you're taking. I mean, I think that is part of the whole human nature. I mean, what I've discovered is that sometimes we humans tend to just complicate things because that's the way it is. So yeah, but I mean, but if you're following something you believe in, regardless of how stressful might be at some point, you will still moving forward because you want to keep going. You want to go all the way here and to reach that into until you reach that moment in which you be like, okay, now I'm comfortable. Let's search for the new talent. I mean, for the new challenge and things like that. So
Yes, yes. And I think it's all about feeling, right?
Yeah.
Do I feel at home? Does my soul like what I'm doing now? How do I feel about what I'm doing, as difficult as it is? Because when you are working on what you love, time flies, right? Time
Hmm.
flies. It's like when we were children. I think that's how we should approach life. The feeling we got when we were children, we were playing with our friends. It was never enough, right? We could be physically exhausted, but in our minds, we just wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
And I know that when we grow up, the stakes are high and there are bills to pay. But I think we should approach our work. Hopefully, it is what we love doing. And if we find it, we should approach it with the mentality of a child that is playing a game. Of course, nobody likes losing a game, but there will be another game tomorrow. We get to play tomorrow again. There will be an opportunity, and to approach it with that mentality of enjoying the moment, enjoying life, the opportunities that life brings to us. So, yeah, I would call it find the home for your soul.
All right. I mean, at the end, what can I say? You know, it's amazing what you do. It's incredible. It's super badass. Now I mean, we just discover why you're a total badass. But the fact that you keep doing, you keep moving forward. You keep loving it. I mean, I think that's the most important part, that you love it. And I mean, we all have heard about do what makes you happy, but sometimes we don't know. I mean, but we don't take into consideration that it's gonna be a little bit of a bumpy ride. But the fact that you keep moving forward, you're making it happen. I mean, it's inevitable that at some point we're going to be chatting about the multiple thousand projects you've been in, because you're doing it by heart. And I do tend to believe, I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you do things by heart, if you're honest with it, great things are going to come along the way at some point. So
Yeah, doors will open.
there you
Doors
go.
will open. That's why it's so important to listen to what our inner wisdom wants, what the hunch, right? We have a
Totally.
hunch. "Oh, maybe I should try this. Try it by all means. You never know if it's going to be amazing. And if it's not, at least you tried it, right? And if you are doing what you love, doors will open. They will open. Now, like I said, it's not always easy for everybody.
Yeah.
I understand. I am a privileged person to have been born in a country in Costa Rica where women can access education, where we can create our own future. So as long as is possible for us, we should look for that and approach work and whatever it is we're doing with the child mindset, with enjoyment and excitement that we had when we were children.
Hmm. All right. There you go. I mean, it's incredible. It's epic. It's badass. I mean, I want to thank you so much, Carolina, for making this happen. I also want to thank those who stayed here the whole conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But most important, as I said in the beginning, on the description below, you're going to find all of Carolina's social media. Let's follow her. Hashtag Team Carolina, because she's incredible. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep rocking, keep killing, keep killing it, keep shining. And I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me.
Absolutely.